It's my favorite day of the week for obvious reasons. Good morning and welcome to the final edition of Breakfast Central. I am Olive Emodi, and for the next 2 hours we're going to be heading to Edo State as they count down to the gubernatorial elections happening on the 25th of September. Lots of drama have been happening there, and we're hoping to uncover details of that shortly.
Absolutely. It's looking like it's going to be a very, very interesting electoral process in Edo State with the 3 top candidates. Supposedly meant to be signing a peace agreement yesterday or a couple of days ago, and of course the PDP refusing to sign that peace agreement. It's one of the things that we'll be talking about today, and of course how we can ensure a free, fair and safe election in Edo State in a few days' time. But aside that, we have other top stories coming across Nigeria this morning. Remember, you should please be a part of the conversation. Simply tweet at News Central TV and let us know your thoughts on any of the stories that we are talking about this morning. One of the things, of course, we've been following is the report of an attempted suicide in the Ajah area of Lagos. A really sad story. But of course, the reports say that someone had attempted to hang himself from the pedestrian bridge, or one of the pedestrian bridges around Ajah in Lagos. He was eventually, of course, rescued by passers-by. And, of course, the story continues to say that, he was maybe slightly beaten up by those who rescued him. So it's one of the things that I found, pretty interesting that I thought we should talk about this morning, just to start the show. Many things to point out from there. Of course, first of all, the average Nigerian response to suicide attempts is very, very poor. And I think it is also coming from a place where the society, the government itself doesn't address suicide with empathy. The law, first of all, criminalizes suicide, so there's no empathy in response to suicide from the government, and it's something that I believe should change if we want to see that people will then, be empathetic towards people, those who, attempt suicide. And so that one is something to point at. And also, a person who decides to hang himself on a pedestrian bridge in Ajah in broad daylight obviously is homeless. So that is something that, I also noticed from here. This person doesn't have a home. The homelessness issue in Lagos State and across Nigeria is also pretty glaring in this particular case. And many other aspects of, will this person get the rehabilitation that they seek? Has this also been a clear sign, or is this rather a clear sign of the level of hunger and frustration and poverty that currently has gone across Nigeria? We keep complaining about this, that things have changed for the average Nigerian. The things that they could afford 1 year ago, 2 years ago, they can no longer afford. And we're talking about the most basic sense of living, the ability to afford 1 square meal a day. Many Nigerians can no longer afford that. They go days without feeding. So
absolutely.
It's a really, really sad story.
Just to add to what you have said, we already have a challenge when it comes to mental health conversations in Nigeria. Mental health conversations are not embraced with open arms. And I know this video might be triggering for some people, so viewer discretion is advised. We, of course, had to, show what exactly the situation was. But just to mention that at the end of the day, in Nigeria, if we look at how our reaction to mental health conversations typically go, it's not always the best reaction. We have religious barriers that stand against mental health. In some cases, people will say that you don't believe in God. How can you have mental health cases? How can you have depression? So there's the religious obstacle against mental health. There's the cultural obstacle against mental health, the stigma. How people would not want to admit, because once you say you're having a mental health challenge, you're dealing with anxiety, you're dealing with depression, people just assume you're a mad person. I said, leave that person, And even the word mad, is there really anything mad? There's a medical term for it, is schizophrenia. So there's just many layers to the mental health conversation that were not even existing as much. Yes, there's been a lot of improvement, but it shouldn't be where we are. If you go to the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, what we popularly refer to as Yaba Left, you would see that it's not the most ideal conditions for people who already have mental health challenges to even be there in the first place. There's even the lack of accessibility to therapists. How expensive it is to get therapy in Nigeria. The number of therapists we have that are already jackbinding, a number of them have relocated outside the country because they'll be able to make better money from their services over there. So it's a myriad of issues surrounding mental health challenges in Nigeria. Then to now bring the reality, the grim reality of what it takes to survive the everyday life here in Nigeria. So yes, there are many layers to the conversation, but there's also another layer that we don't talk about, that even even when things are working well, there are people who would naturally have a mental health challenge because there is something called clinical depression. There's a psychological angle to it. There's the aspect that people who have some, neurodivergent people, those who have ADHD and their likelihood or potential to be exposed to anxiety, and we don't have a lot of this information, and we don't have a lot of support system for that. So I think the areas we need to look at would be, one, decriminalizing suicide attempts, because the reason no regular person that is okay will attempt to want to kill themselves. So decriminalizing it, to know that when anybody tries it, it's because it's a cry for help. They need help. Check them in, get them rehabilitated, So decriminalizing it, then taking away the stigma that surrounds suicide conversations. Even in families where somebody has died from suicide, the families are not willing to be like, no, they don't want anybody. They will look for another story because it's like there's a shame attached to saying the person died from killing themselves. So, I mean, these are the conversations that we'll keep having, and hope that more people can be empathetic, because the truth is you never know what people are dealing with. So we can be kinder to people. People are angrier, and rightfully so. You see people on the field queues, they're angry. People are easily irritated, easily triggered. So I think a good way to wrap up the conversation would be that as citizens, we need to be our brother's keeper. We need to look out for each other, help each other as much as we can. And when you notice there's somebody who's been bubbly, the life of the party, just starts to withdraw, starts to act a little off, dig further. How are you is surface conversation. Yep. Dig further to ask what really is going on.
I mean, so the things you've pointed out are, extremely important, and I think nobody would argue with those ones. But, in this particular situation, nobody knows, exactly what the situation is, but, I would point out, that I believe that it would be mostly centered to poverty, hunger, and the frustration that has engulfed, many, many millions of Nigerians in the last long while. And yes, we need to take mental health, more seriously, but hunger, is also one of, I think we have more of a hunger problem in Nigeria,
I agree with you that hunger is a threat to
mental health. So, as a society, generally as a society, there's many, many, many more layers that we need to develop, and that when we develop those layers, we would see an improvement in the conversations that we have concerning mental health and concerning hunger and concerning empathy towards suicide, and some of all those things. And yes, I agree with you. Our laws concerning suicide must be changed. We cannot continue to criminalize suicide, because that way, has maybe also led to the societal and the religious outlook towards suicide.
Yeah. I hear that Lagos State is, I can't confirm, but Lagos State handles situations like that quite differently. So, which is not surprising, because Lagos State always, in many cases, is more forward-thinking when it comes to our laws. They're always more forward-thinking in providing alternatives for citizens. But yes, the rest of the country needs to really catch up.
Absolutely. Anyway, thanks very much for starting up the show with us. Someone sent me something. So starting the show with us this morning. We're going to be bringing you breakfast headlines, but first of all, let's share with you what our top stories are this Friday morning.
PDP refuses to sign peace accord during ceremony. We count down to the Edo gubernatorial elections on the 21st, and we'll be talking more about why this happened. Survey shows low confidence ahead of Edo and Ondo polls. We'll be joined by someone from CGID to run through the statistics and what they mean. Edo PDP candidate and running mate face criminal charges. We also have Nigerian traders shun Dangote refinery for imported products. We're hearing Dangote saying that it's just 3% that is being bought locally. We review the newspaper front pages. We'll have analysts join us. And now let's bring you breakfast headlines.
We begin breakfast headlines here in Nigeria, where the federal government has launched the National Youth Skills Program, which aims to reduce youth unemployment by 20% in the next 5 years. Nigeria's Minister of Youth Development made this known while launching the initiative in Abuja. She says that the program will target 11 key sectors vital to Nigeria's development, which have the potential to create millions of jobs.
The premise of the National Youth Skills Program is simple. The National Youth Skills Program is designed to turn things around. We are targeting 11 key sectors that are vital to Nigeria's development and have the capacity to create millions of jobs, either directly or indirectly. Sectors like agriculture, renewable energy, the digital economy can potentially drive Nigeria's future. And the National Youth Skills Program, known as the NYSP, is the key to unlocking this potential. With the right skills and training, our youth can not only find employment, but also become the driving force behind these sectors earlier mentioned, creating a ripple effect of job opportunities for our young people.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has requested a permanent presence at the Dangote refinery as part of their ongoing crude supply deal. NNPC aims to closely monitor the entire process, ensuring efficient crude supply and processing and securing a steady flow of premium motor spirit for the country. The discussions now revolve around a new model where the refinery will buy crude from the government in Naira and sell PMS in the same currency. And now moving on to East Africa, Tanzania's main opposition party, Chadema, has threatened to stage mass protests over alleged killings and abductions of its members. The party announced late Wednesday that it would march in the streets of Dar es Salaam on September 23rd unless authorities investigate recent disappearances and return their missing members, whether dead or alive. The threat comes amid concerns that Tanzania's democratic progress is under threat despite initial hopes for greater freedoms under President Samia Suluhu Hassan. And the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has announced a timetable for releasing locked-up funds of investors of failed fund management companies. The government, through the Ministry of Finance, has approved the release of 1.5 billion Ghanaian cedis as part of the bailout program. The funds will be released in 3 tranches, with the first tranche of 700 million cedis in August 2024 and 400 million cedis each in October 2024 and December 2024. Also in the news, South African inflation expectations for the next 2 years have edged closer to the 4.5% midpoint of the central bank's target range, reinforcing the case for interest rate cuts. Average inflation expectation 2 years ahead fell to 4.8% in the third quarter from 4.9% previously. The central bank governor, Leseja Kanyago, has said the Monetary Policy Committee will only adjust its policy rate once inflation is sustainable at 4.5%. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Let's go back to Breakfast Central now and bring you our top stories. I am Osaogie Ogbon.
Ahead of the Edo State governorship election billed for September 21, 2024, 17 out of the 18 political parties have signed the peace accord initiated by the National Peace Committee to guarantee the conduct of free, fair, and credible elections across the 18 local government areas of the state. News Central correspondent Austin Azu, who monitored the exercise in Benin City, the Edo State capital, reports that PDP refused to sign the peace accord.
Ahead of the September 21st, 2024 governorship election in Edo State, the political atmosphere appears tensed following the activities of the various political parties contesting the election. While the concern of Nigerians seems to be a peaceful election, others want the political parties to sign a peace accord to guarantee a peaceful exercise before, during, and after the election. Against this background, the National Peace Committee, led by its chairman and convener, Nigeria's former head of states, Abdusalami Abubakar and Matthew Kuka, invited all the governorship candidates and their deputies, alongside chairmen of the 18 political parties, to affirm their commitment towards a peaceful election.
The signing of this peace accord signifies your readiness to place the interests of the people which you want to serve above individual or party ambitions.
While the political parties took turn to append their signatures to the documents to affirm a peaceful election, the chairman of the PDP in the state refused to sign.
We came to the inevitable conclusion, signing the peace treaty is like signing a death warrant. And we have refused to sign it, and we expect them to do the needful by releasing all our people that have been arrested in their jail for the past 2 weeks. So we think that this is the reason why we are not signing. We think the Nigerian police is so partisan under this partisan, very, very biased IGP. And we are asking that he should take off his hands from Edo, that Edo is not like any other state in this country.
Earlier in their goodwill messages, INEC chairman reaffirms the commission's determination to conduct free, fair and credible election. In the same vein, the Inspector General of Police says the police will remain impartial and provide a peaceful atmosphere for all.
I want to assure political parties and candidates that we will continue to play our part according to the law and best practice as articulated in the clauses of the National Peace Accord.
We recognize the importance of this movement and the trust placed on us to protect the integrity of this election. We will remain impartial, professional, and vigilant while providing a level playing ground for all the political parties and their candidates. I urge all stakeholders to embrace peace.
While advocating a peaceful election, convener of the National Peace Committee further appeals to residents of Edo State to come out en masse to vote their choice candidate.
I just want to appeal to all of us as Nigerians. For these politicians, ordinary people, please don't mind them. They are quarrel outside, it's not always quarrel. They will find a way of settling their problem. The ordinary people, please go out and cast your vote. There are already problems. We are already having difficulties. So if you struggle and find some little fuel and cast your vote, go and cast your vote and people go back crying.
It remains to be seen how the boycott of the peace accord signing ceremony by the ruling party in Edo State plays out as the September 21st election date draws nearer. In Benin, for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
A recent survey conducted by the Center for Journalism Innovation and Development, CJID, has revealed that 64% of Nigerians doubt the fairness of the upcoming governorship elections in Edo and Ondo states. The survey, which sampled 2,156 respondents, cited voter apathy and perceived judicial bias as major concerns that would undermine the credibility of the polls. The survey's findings highlight significant voter apathy and distrust towards electoral processes and institutions, posing a risk to voter turnout and overall engagement. Joining us is the project manager at the Center for Journalism Innovation and Development, Amina Miango. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Ms. Miango, are you with us? All right. It does seem that, we're having a bit of network challenge with Amina Miango. We're hoping that she can join us very quickly, and then we can, look through what the numbers are saying. But CGID did launch a citizens' perception survey report on the Edo and Ondo 2024 gubernatorial elections. And a number of the things that we have seen, the key findings show that there's an erosion of trust in electoral institutions, political parties and candidates. There's a low participation in political parties and campaign activities. And many people have, they've come to the conclusion that social media is the main source of election information for 50%, about 50 of the respondents. And then the media coverage is perceived as biased or indifferent by a notable proportion of respondents. And one major element that is not just in the Edo and Ondo elections, but it's something that the whole federation can talk about, is the trust in the judiciary for election cases. It was surveyed, and we're hoping that Amina Miango can give us a clear picture of what exactly is going on. And after that, we'll be having someone join us from Edo State to talk about the drama going on with the elections, especially regarding the refusal of the People's Democratic Party to sign the peace accord. But I believe that we have Amina Miango joining us. Good morning. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. All right. It does seem that that's not working out.
I think it's a pretty important survey that the CGID carried out. And of course, what it shows, about with 64%, like you've said, 64% of respondents doubting the fairness of the elections. This is very likely coming from previous experiences with elections, not just in Edo State, but nationwide. The 2023 elections generally, and I think everyone would agree, put a very huge dent in the credibility of Nigerian elections generally, and so if that was meant to be able to fix the trust that Nigerians have in elections, it failed woefully. And I personally have always questioned, why we still have not been able to ask the proper questions, as to what happened in 2023, and if Professor Mahmoud Yakubu is still capable of running elections nationwide.
Well, according to him, he says that Edo State, that the INEC is ready to conduct free, fair, and credible elections. We'll come back to Mahmoud Yakubu saying that. Yeah, I think another angle that I'm curious about is the safety and security of citizens. Now, if you recall, in prior elections, it was a major concern. A number of people that you would ask why they're not coming out to vote. I do feel like a large number of them were not coming out to vote because they were afraid for their lives. And I wonder if that's still an element to look at, and if it has as much influence, or if they're more worried about the results, the fairness of the results, as opposed to the safety of their lives. But hopefully, Amina, can clarify that for us. Good morning, Amina. Are you there? Are you here with us now?
Yes, I am.
All right, great.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very much for joining us. So
okay, hi, good morning.
We've seen that there's a citizens report, a citizens perception survey report on Edo and Ondo 2024 gubernatorial elections. They have given different stats showing how the citizens feel or are very well prepared to participate in the elections coming up on the 21st of September. But I'd like you to share with us how you selected participants for this report. A cross-section of the demography of the people that, participated in the poll.
Okay. Let me lay a foundation first. We looked at what happened in 2023. There was really poor voters turnout in the presidential elections and even the subsequent, national, state house of assembly and governorship elections. So, and then the whole issue with the judiciary, the conflicting court judgments, and all of that. So we decided it would be nice to understand. Looking at all the past elections, it's easy to say to actually say that voters will not really turn out for the Edo elections. We needed to prove that assertion right. So we undertook this survey. So it started as an online survey. The forms were shared online, and because of the minimal engagement we had, we decided to take it offline. And most of the people, over 70% of the people that actually filled the survey are in rural areas in both states. So we decided to share age round so that we'll understand, when you look at election results also, a lot of people that vote in elections actually those in the rural areas. They participate more. So we decided to share so that we don't concentrate on only the urban areas, that is the state capitals. And we're able to get, like you said, 2,156 respondents, 1,222 from Edo State, and then, from Ondo State, and then the remaining from Edo State. And mix up of urban and rural. And then we also had the respondent ages from 18 and above, because as you know, the age for voting in Nigeria is 18, and above. And also we had, funny enough, we had women actually responding to the survey at about 52%, I think.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Again, like we stated, they are not very exciting statistics that have been shared. I want you to speak on one of the things that was pointed out. It says 71% expect violence during the elections. Tell us a little bit more about this. Where do you think this might be coming from? And has any work been done to maybe change, or stop this from being a reality?
Okay, so we first of all, election security wasn't a central part of our survey. But in the process of asking questions and allowing the respondents actually, talk about what they fear, because we asked them, if you're not coming out to vote, why do you not want to come out to vote? And they talked about security. They talked about ballot snatching. They talked about
All right. I mean, we see, of course, still struggling with the connection with you there. So we're going to try and do this conversation another time, when we have a better connection with you, and express your concerns and that of the CJID concerning Edo State elections. Of course, not just Edo and Ondo 2024 gubernatorial elections. Like I said earlier, still a lot of work, needs to be done to improve on the quality of elections that we have. We could share some of the, stats that we've gotten from the CJID report. Yes, says 64% of respondents, again, doubt the fairness of the elections for many reasons. 36% express confidence in the elections being conducted fairly and credibly. 71% expect violence during the elections. And this is something that has been talked about lately, mostly concerning the Edo State elections. The peace accord, which was meant to be signed by all parties, we of course are going to be addressing some of the controversy surrounding that. 56% doubt INEC's ability to conduct free, fair polls, which is also very, very staggering. And of course, INEC should really, as a body, be taking a look within itself to know why these numbers are so staggering. And I'm sure if you do a poll nationwide, it's going to be pretty much the same, if not worse. 50% rely on social media for election information. And of course, it also says that 6% question the judiciary's impartiality in resolving election dispute. These aren't good statistics in any way, shape, or form for a democratic nation that is meant to be running elections, both nationwide and of course state elections.
All right, and now before we get to what the recommendations are, I'd like us to look at 71%, the highest stats, of course, and this points back to what I said earlier about how in years before, our major concern was, what the concerns were. A major concern was safety. People weren't worried about their safety. And you can still see that even in 2024, 71% expect violence during the elections. The IGP had said that he would send 35,000 police officers to Edo State to ensure that the elections are free, fair, and credible. The local vigilantes have been, they've banned the local vigilantes from functioning in this period. The state's law enforcement agents are not allowed to work in this season. They've even announced that the VIPs and all the orderlies attached to VIPs be withdrawn a day to the elections, which again reminds me of the initial announcement of orderlies being withdrawn from certain VIPs. I wonder, how that plays out. But in all of this, the governor of the state does feel some type of way, doesn't applaud or is not in agreement with the IGP saying that it will send the 35,000 police officers. It would seem that the governor feels that his authority as the chief security officer is undermined in the state. There are those who, there are different layers to the argument. There are those who would say, in the interest of fairness, let's get extra people who have no direct interest in the state to run the affairs of the state. On the other hand, it would then look like, there's some level of manipulation that wants to go on back and forth. And I'm hoping that when we have the next guest join us, he can talk to us about the security element, because there really has been a face-off between the PDP, ABC, and the IGP of police. And more than anything else, if you want citizens to come out, you have to be able to guarantee that as they're coming out, their lives are not in danger. So
the proposition to send 35,000 policemen has never worked. 2023 elections, prior to the elections, if you remember, we saw a show of force, seemingly, even from the army. It didn't stop electoral violence. It has never stopped electoral violence in Nigeria. And as of 2023, which is the latest one, it didn't stop electoral violence. It didn't stop the snatching of ballot boxes in River State, like we saw. It didn't stop the violence happening in Lagos State here, where people were stopped from exercising their franchise. People were warned to not come out. Ballot boxes were snatched. It has never worked. The what's it called now? The presence of policemen, even at the polling units, hasn't necessarily stopped thugs from being sent to those polling units because policemen are not armed. There's, of course, the law, the rule that says that policemen who are meant to be at the polling units are not meant to carry arms. And so it has never worked. Every time that the IG of police makes these declarations and sending 1 million policemen to each polling unit to stop electoral violence, it has never actually worked. One thing that we've also not seen is the proper prosecution of those who are charged with electoral violence or crimes against the electoral process post-election. We've not seen a situation where dozens, if not hundreds of people, thugs, criminals, have been arrested by the police.
Not just in Edo State, around the country.
Around the country. I'm talking about even nationwide elections.
Yes.
We've not seen a situation where these people have been arrested and charged and sentenced to jail to serve as a deterrence to those who might be, thinking of committing the same crimes in the next elections. We've also not seen those who were threatening Iyachukudi and the likes from coming out to vote in the previous elections. We've not seen them arrested. And so, no matter how many policemen the IG says he will send, it has never stopped electoral violence, and it has never been the answer to free and fair and safe, elections for.
All right, let's quickly share with you what the recommendations of the CJID are regarding these very alarming, maybe not so alarming statistics. Now, their recommendations are: 1, civic and voter education, including integration into school curricula. 2, to improve the internal democracy in political parties and make them more inclusive. They've also said that they should decentralize voting points and make the voting process more flexible, enhance media literacy and regulatory frameworks to combat misinformation, improve INEC's use of technology and voter education strategies, introduce alternative dispute resolution in election petitions, and reduce the time frame for election petitions. These are some of the recommendations, and there's more on the part of INEC to instill citizens' faith in its mandate. We'll come back to that conversation. And on the part of the judiciary, ensure electoral choices of voters are retained and avoid technicalities. And the media has to report issues without bias and ulterior motives. Political parties need to focus on civic and voter education and inclusive membership. Citizens participate actively in the electoral process, and civil society organizations need to engage with stakeholders to drive the process and influence outcomes. These are the recommendations of the CJID. Will these recommendations be implemented? Have they made any change so far, with regards to the ones that have already started being implemented? We'll delve more into the conversation leading up to the Edo gubernatorial elections on the 21st of September. We're going a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by our guests to look at these conversations even further. Stay with us.
With a few days to the Edo State governorship election, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the state has refused to sign the peace accord for the election scheduled September 21st, 2024. The state governor, Godwin Obaseki, on Wednesday hinted about the development during a meeting with Abdusalami Abubakar, the former military head of state and chairman of the National Peace Committee. Now, Obaseki alleged that the police personnel responsible for enforcing the peace accord are biased towards the All Progressives Congress. He claimed that several members of the PDP, including the local government chairman, have been detained by the police without sufficient evidence or valid reasons.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shaibu, has reacted to the People's Democratic Party's refusal to sign the peace accord initiated by the National Peace Committee to guarantee the conducting of free, fair, and credible elections across the 18 local government areas of the state. Here are matters arising ahead of the gubernatorial elections in Edo State. A number of the PDP did not sign the peace accord yesterday. The governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Aswerime Akintunde Igodalu, and his running mate, Mr. Osarodion Oge, are allegedly facing criminal charges at the Code of Conduct Tribunal in Abuja. Suspected thugs of the PDP youths were alleged to have attacked members of the All Progressives Congress in Ekpoma, Esan West. The victims, Imoisili Inegbedion and Alfred, both of APC Ward 10, were ambushed by the assailants while on party duty.
Now, joining us to discuss this is the former Commissioner for Information and Orientation, Edo State, Andrew Enwata. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Osarugi. Good morning, Olive. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. And good morning to our viewers at home.
Great to have you join us. 21st of September, everyone is looking forward to that date in Edo State as it stands. It's a little troubling, seeing that the PDP has refused to sign the peace agreement. So let's quickly start you with that one. What would you say is would you agree with Governor Obaseki's reasons for refusing to sign it?
All right.
Mr. Enwata, we seem to, be struggling with your connection once again, but we'll see how we can fix that and, of course, get you in on the conversation. The elections are coming up in just a few days, and, of course, everyone is looking forward to, free, fair, peaceful elections in Edo State. There, of course, has been heightened tension in the build-up to the elections, right from the many months and the drama that has occurred leading towards the elections with the, primaries, the deputy governor, Philip Shaibu, and of course, he's in and out of the PDP to the APC and all that. There's just been so much. But it has eventually led to the PDP, which is the ruling party in the state, refusing to sign the peace accord. The peace accord is normally signed by all parties that are going to be taking part in the elections in Nigeria. Every time there's an election, it is led by the Peace Committee, and of course, which has its chairman, Abdusalami Abubakar, the former president. And so it normally should be signed by all the parties as an agreement that they will ensure a free, fair, and peaceful elections. And so the PDP now, of course, has decided that they would not sign the peace accord, saying that some of their members have been unduly arrested by the police in the build-up to the elections. And of course, they would not put pen to paper on the peace accord until those persons have been released. But let's quickly share with you a former deputy governor of Edo State, current deputy governor of Edo State, Philip Shaibu, and his response to Governor Gordon Obaseki's refusal to sign the peace accord.
It didn't come for me as a surprise. Withdrawing from signing was not a surprise because I'm aware that all their plans to cause mayhem and violence is already being curtailed. And such people will definitely not be part of any peace accord when they know that they want to perpetuate violence, and that violence have been curtailed. You see, when I hear the governor talking about constitution, I laugh because this is a man that is lawless. This is a man that will not obey court judgment. This is a man that will not even obey the oath of office he took as governor. He said Nigeria will burn. That's against oath of office. So when I hear him talk about constitution, I laugh because how can Governor Obaseki be talking about constitution? Constitution that he has breached and breached and breached many times. A man that does not have respect for traditional institutions, a man does not have respect for Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that he has breached many times. He's not talking about constitution. I laugh. It's shocking that Obaseki knows Constitution of the Federal Republic. He should go and read the interpretation clause and go and read talk schedule of the Constitution, the oath of office that he took. He took an oath that he will protect the integrity of Nigeria and the sovereignty of Nigeria. And the same man went out to say Nigeria will burn. And his talk also repeated it in Ipoboha that Edo will burn. So you can see everything about them is burning Nigeria, burning Edo State, which is against the oath of office I took and he took. We took oath of office on the same podium. So when I see him talk about constitution, I say, Obaseki, he doesn't know constitution. But the good news is that those that know the constitution are ready to make sure that the constitution is obeyed to the latter. And those that will not obey constitution definitely will not sign peace accord.
Now, that's Philip Shaibu, the Deputy Governor of Edo State, who has spoken regarding the drama going on in Edo State. There have been a number of people who have been speaking. Tony Azegbemi has spoken as well. They have condemned the actions of the police. They have criticized the police and, alleged that the police is being biased regarding the APC. But I'm sure that we can have some clarity regarding this conversation. We have Andrew Enwata joining us, and he would help to shed some light on this. Mr. Enwata, you've heard what what Philip Shaibu has said. And we want you to sort of give us an insight into, or a general outlook to, why the People's Democratic Party has refused to sign the peace accord, and if there's some element of logic to the arguments that they have put forward, especially regarding the police and its quote-unquote bias.
Yeah, thank you. You know, it's quite unfortunate to hear that Obaseki is talking about, just as the Deputy Governor of Edo State said, Philip Shaibu is talking about the constitution, rule of law. This is a man that does not believe that we have a constitution in Nigeria. You saw the way he removed his Deputy Governor. It was well reported. How he evicted the man from Government House, and how, at the end of the day, the court gave an order reinstating him, and the man refused to obey that order. What is happening is simple. You also reported how the police orderly attached to the APC candidate was killed. You know, the day himself and, the candidate and Shaibu arrived in under the cover of the Edo State Security Network, which, of course, yesterday the IGP has banned. And I think that's why the governor is not ready to go into the election. The plan is to rig the election using the instrumentality of that body. And as such, you discover that having banned that body, Obaseki's plan to rig the election has been foiled. So that's why they are saying that they will not sign the peace accord. If they believe in peace, if they believe in the electoral process, if they believe in constitutionalism, they will sign it. It's not a question of them complaining. The person that was arrested by the police was involved in attempted murder. Yesterday, the man was arraigned and he has been remanded. Nobody is above the law. What we are saying is that Edo State belongs to all of us. The governor cannot take everybody for granted. He cannot take us for a ride. We all fought for democracy, including my senior comrade Philip Shaibu. Obaseki was not a stakeholder. He was busy pursuing stocks and all of that, you know, double dealing and all of that when we were in the trenches fighting for democracy. So he does not know what democracy is. In 2016, this is a man that Oshomole supported to be governor. He didn't make any effort. The first time he voted was in his election. In 2020, PDP gave him their platform. Governor Wike, Danobi, and all of us came to support him. He betrayed all of us that supported him. This is the first election he's standing by himself, and he's crying wolf. We hear that they want to boycott the election. It is their democratic right. We had local government election last year. They prevented parties from properly participating. Parties boycotted. So PDP claiming that they will boycott will not be news. What will be news is if they now do a 360-degree turnaround, as the chairman was trying to do after the conclusion of the signing of the peace accord. You saw him trying to come and they told him to go away. These are people, they have no plan for Edo State. Look at how they are run our state aground. Look at the economy of our state in complete mess. The truth of the matter is that PDP not signing that peace accord is nothing because you have 17 political parties, 16 of them signed. It shows that PDP is ready to create violence as they are doing already. Remember that in East and West, the chairman led talks under the cover of the Edo Vigilante, and somebody was almost killed. They injured a lot of people. A married woman was almost completely slaughtered. So Obaseki is out of violence.
Sorry, which of the chairmen are you referring to?
The ban of his police, of his special police. He has a special police called Edo State Security Network. So we were so happy when the IG banned that body because that body has become a nuisance. They hide under the cover of that body to commit all kinds of atrocities. They use pump action, which is a prohibited weapon. Most of the weapons they use are not authorized by the police because for you to use a firearm, it must have a police license. There's a particular man who is allegedly involved in the murder. His name is Olayi. The deputy governor referred to him as one of the persons who said in the local government that Edo State will burn. This is a man who is running from justice, a fugitive from justice. Obaseki is housing about 15 of them in government house. So the statement by the IGP banning that group therefore means that these people, they don't have their own army again to operate. They are not going to subject themselves to the known and constitutional authority of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is Nigerian Police Force. Section 214 is very clear on the duties of the police. No other police force under Section 214 can operate. So if the ban has come at a time like this and PDP is crime below murder, it shows they are not ready for the election. Yeah. They are not ready to abide by the code of conduct laid down by INEC. INEC is the body responsible for conducting that election.
Just to be clear,
ready to abide by whatever conditionalities INEC has put in place for that election to take place.
Mr. Iwata, just to be clear, the concerns, of violence in the Edo State elections, and heating up the polity, it's not just from the PDP. We spoke about a CJID survey that was carried out, and it says that 71% of respondents believe that the Edo State elections will be violent. And that is because of the build-up to the elections, and the statements that have been made from all sides, not just the PDP. And so are you painting a picture, to make the APC seem like it is, only completely interested in free and fair elections? Nobody has been violent. Nobody's pushing for violence, in the elections.
Remember that the government that controls the Edo State environment is the Edo State government led by the PDP, Godwin Obaseki. And as such, because they perceive that the elections will not go their way, look at the way they conducted the last local government election. People were beat up. They beat people up. They did all kinds of things. But this time around, it's an election to be organized by a national body, the Independent National Electoral Commission. So that's why they are a bit frigid, because last year's election, PDP did very poorly. And the only way they can achieve anything is when they have their own vigilante in place. So the plan was to use that body to rig the election. Now that that body has been disbanded, and why was that body disbanded? People hiding under the cover of that body to foment all kinds of violence and inflict injury on, helpless citizens. We've seen situations like the one that happened in the airport, where people at the gate thought, oh, these people were vigilante, and they opened fire. And unfortunately, the police orderly of our candidate died. And after that time, they've moved from community to community. The impostor that calls himself Deputy Governor that Obaseki appointed, Omobayo Godwins, he moves around with this vigilante in Akoko Edo. They move with all kinds of assault weapons. So we must reduce the use of arms. And the only way we could have achieved that was banning these non-state actors using arms. And by the time this has been done, you discover that they are now complaining, they are now shouting. They didn't say they will boycott the elections. It is after that ban, the issue of boycott came up. Though the governor was saying it just to put the IG, on notice that, if they ban that body, they will not participate in the election. We saw a news story that the governor has threatened that they will boycott the elections. PDP is one out of how many parties? If they don't participate in the election, it will not be history. People have previously boycotted elections organized by the SEC, which is in the pocket of Obaseki. So the heavens will not fall. Although people are ready to vote, and they're going to vote a party that they believe in. And I can tell you that the APC is on ground. APC is on ground in the local government.
Now, permit me to interject at this point. I want to talk about the legality or otherwise of, the claims that have been made by Anthony Azegbemi, the PDP chairman. And I want to ask you this, especially because you're a lawyer and there's a due process for how arrests should be made. There have been allegations leveled against the police about how Collins Osaibu, the Esan local government chairman, I'm not quite sure, his portfolio, but there have been allegations that he's been whisked away at 4 a.m. by the police. And there was a long list that was read. I'm sure you must have seen the clip where Anthony Azegbemi was naming the people that have been whisked away by the police in the past 2 weeks. They say that their members do not feel safe and they feel like their members have been particularly targeted. So do we have clarity as to, the truth or otherwise of these claims? And if they are true, is this how things should be run?
Can I quickly say that it does not matter when an arrest is made. These are people who have been involved in all manners of violence. The fact that they did one recently and they are being apprehended does not mean that the police will not do their work. The governor was trying to influence the process. The former commissioner of police was in bed with Obaseki. When Obaseki unilaterally banned some individuals who operate as youth leaders in Benin-speaking areas called Okiagele, it was a commissioner that labeled these people as cultists. That particular commissioner of police was partisan because he was working the script of Obaseki for this election. So they brought in a new commissioner who insisted that the right thing should be done. When Collins Agbogun was arrested, they found some firearms with him. And when they noticed the governor was trying to influence the process, because the people came from the IGP's office, the IRT, they had to transfer the case to Abuja because that was where the petition was written. And of course, the law, section 35 of the Constitution says that once a person is arrested, you cannot keep him beyond a particular period. You must arraign him, before a court within a particular mile radius. And when you talk of that mile radius, that place can only be within the area where he was detained, for which, of course, his constitutional right to fair means you must arraign him, which they did yesterday. The police have arraigned him, and he has been remanded. It shows that nobody is above the law. Obaseki, as I speak to you, the remaining of these persons involved in this violence is housing them in government house. He has even mobilized some of them to travel abroad. The truth is, we must not encourage political violence. It does not matter which political party is involved. Once the political violence is reported, the police have a duty of arresting those persons. And if prosecuted, they are found guilty, they must face the wrath of the law, the full wrath of the law.
These statements that you've made are very strong allegations. Do you have proof? Can you confirm? You said that these men are within the
court. The man is being prosecuted for the.
I'm not talking of Osai-Bovona. I'm talking of the people who you have said that the governor is housing and is making plans to send abroad. Do you have proof of all of this? Say, linking them to the commission of crime.
Individual. Can I tell you the name of one of them? His name is Odionlaye. There's a video which went viral when he went to Igor. He came in the governor's convoy because he's one of those that have been declared wanted. This is a man that come into political meetings with a pump action. He's from my local government. One of the last meetings I attended, he came with a pump action. I confronted him. Osai-Bovona, who is the chief of staff to the governor, when I reported this to him, said that, oh, please, I should leave him. That he has the protection of the governor, that he has the right to go with pump action. That after all, legacy PDP, they are coming to create problems. So it is a known fact. He's one of those in government house, Obaseki's housing. That murder case that took place at the airport is one of the suspects.
All right, Mr.
So
Nwata, before we go,
immunity to protect these persons.
Yeah, before we go,
for us, that is totally unacceptable.
Kindly hold on. Before we go, I remember our last conversation. I had asked you about the APC candidate and his seeming fear of media scrutiny. He still, has not showed up, for any interviews. You promised that you were going to, have him join us, and speak with, the media on his plans for Edo State. And of course, be able to answer questions. He still hasn't showed up for any interview. I don't know if he has been to ITV or any of the stations in Benin, to answer, questions about his plans for Edo State. And if he hasn't, don't you think that's a major red flag that the candidate has not been able to put himself through tough questions and, of course, express himself to the people of Edo State, what his plans are?
It appears your question has even answered it, but I would just want to quickly make a clarification. Senator Mondo Bevolo is a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. When he ran for election last year, he attended many TV interviews. He campaigned across the various local governments of his senatorial, and he was elected. So I don't think this media hype. He was on BBC. Can you rate BBC as a local station?
I'm glad that you mentioned BBC.
Can I complete what I'm saying?
Okay.
He had a 30-minute interview where he sold his plans and program to Edo people. The truth is, he cannot appear on all TV programs. I must have made a promise that he will come on TV News Central. But the truth is, this man is campaigning.
All right.
How intense?
He has not come to your TV station. He has not come to your TV. The fact that he has not come to TV Central does not mean he has not been on other.
He has been on other platforms.
Which other ones has he been on?
He's not a man of many words. He can choose not to be a man of many words, but a man of action.
But
and for us, it's more work and less talk.
Can we refer to the BBC interview that he granted? In that interview, he made a number of statements. One of them was that, he talked about fixing of roads and, a number of, the video did go viral, fixing of roads and, in a way, double charging the federal government for it. There was a clip that went. Can you explain, maybe what that was?
I think I can correct that very erroneous impression. Politicians use innuendos, they use all manners of, figurative expressions. He said that, the governor refused to fix federal roads, that Oshomole fixed federal roads and there was a refund of some billions of naira, that if, for instance, he uses 10 million, after some time, he can even demand for more. And there's nothing wrong in saying that I fixed this road for 10 million, but because of inflation and what have you, I'm asking for more. He didn't say he would like that.
That's not what he said.
What he said is...
He said I can fix it for. He said I can fix it for 10 million. Ask for 20 million from the federal government. So there's going to be an APC governor. Wait, can you let me explain what he meant? He's an APC governor. If he fixes the roads for 10 million and he's asking for 20 million from an APC federal government, is there anything wrong with that?
You can asking for 20 million. Why? If he spent 10 million fixing the road, why is he asking for 20 million?
Would he tell the federal government, as he said, that I fixed this road for 10 million and I want you to give me? He made that statement, and I told you that politicians use innuendos. Did you say
this is not an innuendo, Mr. Nwata. Why can't he ask for 200 million? What stops him from asking for 200 million?
No, the thing is, with profound respect, he made that just to say that haven't done a good job, you can ask for more. That is the summary.
Ask for more from where and why? Ask for more why?
Mr. Nwata, I think we're forgetting
don't you know the
that.
State of roads in Edo? Are you not from Edo State, Osarogi? Don't you know the state of roads? He can ask for more. As governor would have done that. The point is, he's saying, get the job done and you can ask for more. Get the job done and you can ask for more. There's nothing untoward about that. It is when you
just to highlight,
as Obaseki does, that is wrong.
Just to highlight, you know, they said that what was said was if I put 10 million naira there, that's on federal rules, I will claim 20 million from the federal government. It's completely different from saying if I do a good job, I will ask for more.
The fact that he has fixed the road, you can ask for more because the roads in Edo State are in a terrible shape.
All right.
Very terrible.
Mr. Nwata, unfortunately, we've run out of time. We've run out of time, but we need to get to your word because the PDP team have just contacted us that they would like to have a conversation on Monday and they would like to challenge a number of things that have been said on the show. So we'd like to please ask that you will give us your word that you'll be back on Monday to have an extensive conversation on this.
I don't mind coming to your station physically because there are many things I want to discuss because we have a failed government in Edo State. I served as Commissioner for Information, I served as Commissioner for Youth and Humanitarian, I served as Commissioner for Gender. And Edo people must know that this one-chance government of Obaseki must be voted out come next week, Saturday.
So we'll see you on Monday then, so we can have a more robust conversation with the PDP representatives as well. Thank you very much, Andrew and Nwata. Do have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for staying tuned with us and welcome to those who are maybe just tuning in. We're reviewing the front pages of the newspapers this morning. We're joined by the head strategist and at public relations at Nairametrics, Wade Ahimie. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Olive. Good morning, Osagi. Great to be here again.
Wade, congratulations. You know, counting down to your state elections. I'm sure you're excited about that.
Which state?
Are you not from Edo State?
Lagosian.
Every time we have this conversation. Really?
Yeah, I'm a Lagosian.
Okay.
That's where I earn my bread and butter, so I don't know. I don't pay taxes in Edo State.
Right. So you know, that's another conversation that we need to visit.
But if you look at, you're a lawyer now, if you look at the Constitution, there's nothing that talks about state of origin in the Constitution. It talks about state of residence.
Okay, we'll come back to this conversation.
And
that's not the key conversation for today. Let's review the newspaper front pages this morning, starting off with our first paper, This Nigerian newspaper. Flood. Food crisis hits Borno. Refugee Commission says damaged bridges and roads hamper access to hospitals, schools, markets. NIMA says 414,000 persons affected and there have been 30 deaths so far. Night trips unsafe, utterly dangerous, says FRSC Corps Marshal. FX rates, energy prices will drive inflation in the next 6 months, according to CBN. Tension in Edo as 17 parties sign a peace accord. PDP declines. INEC extends collection of PVCs to September 15th. Final story here. NBS, Nigeria spends 3.2 trillion naira in Q2 2024, records highest. Tinubu expresses confidence in reforms. That's all on This Nigeria. Let's go to the next paper.
All right, our next paper this morning is the Daily Independent newspapers. And big one on your screen there says 259 dead, 625,239 displaced. That's 29 states battle floods this year. NEMA says search and rescue ongoing in flood-ravaged Borno. Laments humanitarian crisis as floods ravage communities and farms. We can also find on Daily Independent, Edo gubernatorial will defend our votes with our blood. PDP vows. Maybe not the right time to make such statements, but I guess, you know, they have their reasons. Tinubu assures of robust economy as Nigeria records trade surplus. We can also find on the Daily Independent this morning, 50% TSA deductions embrace dialogue. KMO appeals to Aviation Workers Union. CBN requires all POS transactions to go through licensed aggregators. NNPC seeks permanent office space at Dangote Refinery. The conversations are just not ending with Dangote and NNPC. We can also find here, bandits kill 3 soldiers, 4 policemen in Zamfara ambush. We are mobilizing for Kano local government election, says the APC. These are the major stories on the Daily Independent newspapers.
And let's look at one more paper before we get into the conversations this morning. The Vanguard newspaper, petrol price, NNPCL Dangote in gritty horse trading. It does seem that there's a lot of back and forth regarding the petrol price. And we're seeing some sub-stories. Price negotiation meeting continues today. They said that they'll be guided, NNPC says they'll be guided by the PIA, accepting any price, in accepting any price according to the NNPC. Dangote says if they fail to buy from us, we export. Says depot owners have petitioned president over diesel price. Scarcity, hawkers sell cheaper than fuel stations, according to an investigation. That's a very interesting one there. Peace accord in Edo election, you can see all the happy faces standing there, except, the PDP representatives, of course. At the top of the paper, FCDO letter, Nigeria signs deals with UK, gets 589 billion naira aid. Federal government signs CTC practice direction to reduce cost of airline operations. 48 million Nigerians still practice open defecation, according to UNICEF. I don't know about the numbers, but yes, we see them every morning on our way to work, as early as 5, 6 a.m. on the roads doing their thing. 400 deported Nigerians arrive Abuja from UAE. Yep, that's another conversation. But let's begin with petrol price conversation, Wade. NNPCL, Dangote, and then the reports of NNPC saying that, they're not buying from them and they'll be forced to sell to external marketers, that, they're selling 95%, they're exporting 95%, as only 3% is being purchased. And NNPCL is saying, we're still negotiating. They've been on this negotiation for like 3 weeks now. It's a lot of back and forth still going on. We had hoped they would pick up petrol on the 15th. It doesn't look like they're going to be picking up on the 15th because there's no, final agreement as to what the pricing is.
We still have today now. We have the weekend also. So the 15th is when?
15th is, I think, on Sunday.
On Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. So yeah, we can still do that.
Saturday, tomorrow. Oh no, Sunday, yes, definitely.
Yeah. So we can still get some proper negotiations and pricing. That's why we're businesses, they stay overnight and knock out the numbers. But it's interesting because these questions have been coming back to me. And fortunately, I was present at the session where all this went on.
Brilliant.
And it was very interesting what was said. Some of the things that the Dangote representative also said was they're trying to work out the modalities of crude sold in Naira to them. Yep. Products that come out of it would go back into the system. The Dangote refinery representative also stated that they can produce about 54 million liters of petrol, as petrol. And just about 44% is required locally, which comes to maybe 20-something million, which I think is a fair estimate of what it should be. But let's also remember that all parties who are in the oil and gas industry are all business people. So you're not going to buy, you say prices are, they push the price to a particular amount, but the question is, which area of the sales is that amount for? So if you're doing, based on my understanding of the retail space, if you're doing retail purchase, you're selling to trucks and all, prices are usually slightly lower or slightly higher than when you sell to vessels who are still going to take it back into tank farms and then resell as wholesalers. So these are all the modalities that need to be worked. I also remember the representative talking about loading about 2,900 trucks.
Yep.
In a day. But the question is that what in my own opinion, please, is that what the refinery should actually be looking at, or we should be looking at more big vessels and time charters that would take less time within Nigeria, which is usually between 4 to 10 days to move around. And then when you compare them to 14 to 21 days in terms of when you have to import petrol from outside the country. And these are all discussions that need to go on. Are you going to get everybody to sit down and invest in an SBM that would take products directly from Dangote refinery
to different regions across the country?
Not even the different regions, just even first take them to their pop-up area where you have a lot of tank farms, to Kirikiri. These are the questions, and these are the kind of investments we should start looking at. Not, in my own opinion, not trucking and then the potential of creating another gridlock.
Yeah, because having many more trucks on,
but you even from that conversation, some of the analysts on the session, also suggested that, oh yeah, trucking is fine, but it should move out of the axis of Lagos so that we can do more vessels taking products and then bringing them into Apapa and then feeding them into the system in Lagos. And these are all things that everybody should sit down. It's not just Dangote, it's not just NNPC, but every participant
but
in the oil and
he
gas
obviously seems to be having, a really tough time lately, breaking these negotiations and these discussions down. I want us to speak with Lenin, and then I'm going to ask you a question about it. Good morning, Lenin.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Olive.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
I want to talk about this Dangote fight and NNPC fight. I don't really know what the NNPC's problem is, but it's glaring to Nigeria now why they've been delaying this Port Harcourt refinery and Kaduna refinery. It's so glaring to Nigerians now that they really want Nigeria to suffer. They've been delaying it. They've been delaying to take off of the refinery. They did promise this current what is his name has failed 6 times. So that is out now to give Nigeria support. What is their problem? What is NNPC problem? What is you just take inflation and see Nigeria suffer? What? Because we don't know. We should ask NNPC what is the problem. Thank you.
All right. Some other thing, that has come up yesterday in the news, and I think we're going to be speaking about it right next, is the 3%. If you remember, Dangote complaining that they were only selling off 3% to local, marketers because they preferred the price from imported PMS. How does that make sense?
Well, that wasn't PMS. That was AGO.
AGO, I beg your pardon. Sorry.
Diesel. So market dynamics determine a number of things. So if Dangote's production, the cost of production is cheaper, it should actually be cheaper than when you bring it in from outside Nigeria. As at the last count, I think based on my own analysis and hearing from other analysts and other members or other people within the industry, I think pump price of diesel should come between 950 and 1,000 naira, and PMS should come between 1,000 and 1,100 naira. That's if you bring it in. But yes, of course, Dangote should be cheaper. Why would it be cheaper? It's produced locally.
There's a lot of the charges, that are cut
so
off.
One of the major things that you cut out when you import is the cost of vessel haulage. Costs between $650,000 and $1.2 million to get a vessel that will bring you. And I'm not talking about vessels that will take 10,000 metric tons. We're talking about 50,000 metric ton vessels, 30,000 metric ton vessels that bring into the port. So with Dangote, and these are the things I continue to ask. How are we sitting down and asking those questions? How do you take those products? Is it to get to the retail end? And when I say the retail end, is pushing out products just from the gantry, so if you do that, am I going to buy in trucks from Dangote and then move them back to my own facility at a lower price, and then of course I'm still going to pay for all that, or am I just going to take it from there and take it to the petrol stations? And let's also remember that some of these marketers own petrol stations all across Nigeria. So is it trucking you want me to do, or you want me to take large quantities at X refinery price? These are discussions that everybody needs to sit down, not just NNPC and Dangote, but all players in the industry to come to a reasonable agreement. How much of that quantity are going to be moved via vessels? And like I said, what is the plan over the next 2 to 4 years in terms of getting a pipeline that can push it to those places and collect your throughput?
Let's quickly take this call from Abuja. We have Henry calling. Good morning, Henry. Thanks for calling. Please go ahead with your comment.
Good morning, amazing crew members. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I want to talk about what's on the front burner, that is the election. I want to talk about the government.
We're struggling with your audio, Henry. Can you please speak up?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can try to hear you.
Can you hear me now? Am I clear enough?
Okay, we're losing parts of what you're saying. Maybe you might want to try dialing again. All right.
Okay.
All right. We're struggling with Henry's audio. I hope that you can call back and we can take your call. Let's go to the Edo elections, the pink elephant in the room, which Henry had inferred that he wanted to talk about. Yep. Edo governorship poll on the Punch says opposition fears violence as PDP shuns peace accord. We took statistics from CJID that show that 71% of respondents were afraid of participating in the elections because they feared that violence was going to erupt. So there's a fear of violence, there's a low voter turnout, there's voter apathy. A number of people will cite reasons like the 2023 elections, or maybe even just the drama going on in the Edo elections between the PDP, APC. The Labour Party has its own fair share, but seems to be out of the main drama. But I mean, share your thoughts on that.
I know you asked me earlier before we went on air.
From a state, at least if it's not your state, a state in Nigeria.
Well, it's a state in Nigeria, and when you consider the fact that what people have seen over the years in terms of election and how elections are conducted in Nigeria, then there is high tendency for people to have that apathy in terms of going out to vote. Can the security forces protect them from seeming violence? I don't know the reason why PDP will not sign a peace accord, but one of the headlines says we would defend our votes with our bloods, and I really don't understand what you're talking about.
So it would seem that PDP wants to sort of provide its own security forces. The governor says that they are undermining his office as chief security officer of the state. Another part of the reason, they have alleged that the police is biased. They've accused the IGP of being biased. He says he's sending 35,000 police officers, is deploying them to the state, has asked the VIPs to withdraw all their escort, their protocol, their security detail, because he's bringing
a couple of people.
Exactly. They've also arrested a couple of people. There have been allegations of the police being influenced or manipulated by the APC. So these are some of the concerns that the PDP have raised. We'll get your reaction, but let's take a call. Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Hello, News Central. This is Bakari calling from Ogun State.
All right, please go ahead.
Yes, that's a particular issue I wanted to comment on.
All right.
General Abdul Salam and Archbishop cannot wasting their time for this peace pact accord every time.
We can't hear you. We're so sorry. We're so sorry. Please, we'll have you call back again. But let's get into Edo State's drama.
So for me, and this is something we have to learn over time, election is not a one-day process. Election is a process that continues after the ballots have been cast. And these are the problems I think we face in Nigeria. So 2023 is done. We're waiting for the next 4 years for everybody to say, have people collected their PVCs? Are people willing to go out en masse into their polling stations to go and vote? Because some of these things also tend to make sure that I don't want to, for the want of use of a better word, miscreants or those who don't want elections to hold, are you with me, take over the space. If you have a polling station where you have 1,000 people and only 100 people come out, then of course if 50 people who have ulterior motives come out with weapons and all, everybody's going to run away. So we need to come back to the fact that elections are a process. People need to go out, irrespective of how you think you feel, and go and cast your vote. And then and only then can you secure what you have voted for, who you have voted for. And like you said, there seems to be intimidation. And that's one part. One party saying that the other party will tell you, oh, it's not intimidation. These are people that have issues, or they are suspected to have issues. But it's just, for me, at the end of the day, we need to change the way we go about the electoral process. And unfortunately, when you look at it, whether it's the resident INEC who could be a professor or whatever it is, it just goes to show the system as a whole. Because even in Nigeria, professors for last year, they were on strike for almost 8 months. So what makes them the best people to be the head of an election process, And we need to take away that independence. We need to ensure that independence of INEC from whether it's the executive or the legislative, so that people who have belief in the electoral system will actually let people vote. And let's stop the intimidation from either party, whether it's the security or those who don't want the elections to go.
It really just tells that there's, still so much fine-tuning that our electoral process, requires.
Yeah, so I do think we need to work on that electoral law. Are you with me? And improve it. I don't see the reason why, with so much technology, the minister of not communication, the other minister that is in charge of technology and all. Yeah. I think it was a couple of days ago, 11 million people or $11 million or something.
Is it Bosu Tijani?
Yeah, Bosu Tijani. And we're doing all these things.
$11 million?
I can't remember. Like, I don't have, but there's
100 million now. I think it was $60,000. I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Now you're doing all these things. Are you with me? To create networks, to create opportunities for people to be able to connect without actually being there, and we're not putting it into our electoral process. And we saw it in Kenya after the first elections between Kenyatta and his opponent, and within 2 years or within 3 years, the electoral laws changed. In Kenya last year, or the last elections, people voted without actually what was going on, like
even the South African elections. I mean,
exactly.
There's just so much.
So these are things, and we can't call ourselves giants of Africa, and we're continually pushing technology and saying that we're getting to that point, and we're not talking about it in the electoral process. These are things that need to change.
It's really heartbreaking. It's embarrassing. And unfortunately, we continue to repeat these same mistakes every 4 years, and tell ourselves that
but I guess the mistake is because we believe that elections are a 4-year cycle. No. Elections are everyday cycles.
So quickly speak on the Borno State issue, the crisis in the flooding in Borno State. On This Nigeria this morning says flood, food crisis hits Borno. Refugee Commission says damaged bridges, roads, hamper access to hospitals and schools. NEMA says 414,000 persons affected, 30 people dead so far.
First, my condolences to those who lost their loved ones, the 30 people who died. Unfortunately, this has become a perennial issue, year in, year out. I think it was earlier in the year, NEMA continued to tell us about the states that were vulnerable to flooding. About 30 out of the 36 states were vulnerable to flooding. And we still have this. This is only Borno. We don't know what is going to happen in other places. They said, the dam got broken. In some other news, over the last 1 year, about 170 million has been spent in fixing that dam that broke. 26 million in July alone. So what exactly have we done? Because we have a terrible maintenance culture in Nigeria, And if you ask those who were commissioned to do that, they'll tell you they fixed all the things that were told to them. They did do a proper assessment of all the weaknesses and all. That dam itself, did it need to be reconstructed in totality rather than just patching? And how did you patch them? Did you use the right mix and the right quantity of materials that were required? These are all questions we need to see, and need to be more transparent in the way we award this contract so that we can see what they're doing, the people know what they're supposed to do, and then we can actually check them.
We need to go, but the thing is, the core, right, with the lack of transparency you speak of is really because there's no actual value for life and property. Because if for a situation like this now, you've heard that 20 people are dead, and somebody needs to answer for why they failed to do the things that they should do to prevent the death of 20 people in the future, then maybe we'll start asking these same things that you just mentioned. But there's no value, and we're going to move.
Well, I don't know whether there's no value. I just think at the end of the day, people tend to forget that for everything you do, there must be a process, and you must follow it through.
All right. Wadehemi, thank you very much for stopping by, as always. We always enjoy your perspectives on these issues, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you for having me, as always.
All right. Stay with us this morning. We continue the conversations this morning on Breakfast Central. More of our top stories coming up right next.
The Dangote refinery, Nigeria's largest refinery, is allegedly facing a boycott from local marketers who refuse to purchase its products despite lower prices. Devakumar VG Edwin, the vice president of Dangote Industries Limited, has revealed that only 3% of the refinery's output is being sold locally, noting that the remaining 97% of the refinery's production, including diesel and jet fuel, is being exported due to a boycott by local traders who refuse to buy at the refinery's lower prices.
Edwin suggested that there is a deliberate attempt to block the refinery's operations and revealed that local marketers wrote to President Bola Tinubu complaining about the refinery's pricing strategies. The boycott has forced the refinery to explore international markets, exporting the majority of its refined products, including diesel and jet fuel. The refinery is expected to begin supplying premium motor spirit this month. Now, to discuss this is the spokesman, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Ipman Ukadike Chinedu, and also joining us is economist Kalu Aja. Good morning to both of you. Thanks for joining us. Mr. Aja, you seem very excited to to get into this. But let's hear from Ipman first, and understand what exactly is playing out here. Tell us, give us some information about as to why this, 3% story is coming up.
Well, good morning. Thank you for giving us this wonderful opportunity to be able to let Nigerians and the world know the position of Ipman in terms of product production and Dangote refinery. We are happy with Dangote. We welcome it as a very good development for Nigeria, so that Nigeria will not be saddled with mono source of petroleum products. You will also agree with me that NNPCL has been the source of petroleum products via importation since this year's under review. Our refinery have been shut down and they are all going with a turnaround maintenance. So we don't have any other source of petroleum products except NNPCL. And in line with the PIA bill, NNPCL has also established a marketing company and a trading company that ensures distribution of petroleum products and allocation of petroleum products to independent marketers. So independent marketers are now bonded into NNPCL portal for us to source petroleum products. So the coming of Dangote was a very good one. We all appreciated it. We applauded it. We also wrote a congratulatory letter to Aliko Dangote for building the refinery, 650,000 barrel per day refinery, one of the largest in West Africa and also in the world. It's in Nigeria. It's something that gives hope and opportunities to our marketers.
Right.
So
Mr.
now on the issue of 3%, I'm hearing you.
All right, just go ahead. I want us to get straight into it, and is the Dangote...
Okay, I was just trying to give you a background of what man looks like. And our primary aim is to be able to source petroleum products at any particular point in time. Wherever this petroleum product is being sold to independent market, we are willing buyers. We can buy at any particular point. What we are looking for, cheap products with good quality that can be able to be sent to our filling stations. We control almost 80% of the retail outlets in Nigeria, and we are strategically located to distribute this petroleum product. So the issue of selling 3% and exporting, that one is unfounded. Because when Dangote came in, he came in with his AGO. We are buying the AGO. He started giving us 5 million liters and 1 million liters. And the price was good enough. The price was out of AGO at that time was around 1,600. And Dangote was selling 1,200. We rushed it. Even individual marketers made attempts to be able to buy from Dangote. They said no, they want to sell in bulk. They want to sell from 5 million liters. Later they go to 1 million liters. Marketers were buying. I also want to tell you if they can be able to display their records of purchases. They started the refinery on the automated gasoline oil. We, the independent marketers, were the highest in terms of patronage to Dangote. So we are ready to buy. We are willing buyers. We are looking for products to sell, and we are committed to that, and we'll continue to remain in business if Dangote is willing to sell to independent marketers. Even up to now, he has not even opened up to independent marketers to come and buy from his refinery. I don't know where the management is getting this kind of information.
Just to add to that, you said that up until now he hasn't opened to independent marketers. There was the initial statement of NNPC being the sole buyer, and then later NNPC came out to deny that, to say they're not the sole buyer and anyone really can purchase from them. So I'd like you to please clarify, you know, where the story of NNPC being the sole buyer and now the position you've just mentioned regarding him not opening up to independent marketers. Is it him or is it NNPC that you're looking at, you know, at this point?
The refinery is supposed to be, it's supposed to be a liberalized market in line with the PIA bill. They're supposed to sell to everybody. The statement that we got before is that NNPC is going to determine their price. We are wondering where the statement is coming from. And NNPC said, we are not going to determine your price. But they also said the NNPC is going to offtake all their products. And NNPC said everybody is willing to buy. So I think there's a policy disagreement. I also believe that the management of Dangote and that of federal government, and they have agreed to sell crude in Naira. They should also have agreed to know what they want to buy, and Dangote should approach independent marketers. If he's having this kind of lacuna, he should approach independent marketers so that we can continue to buy, because we have been buying his AGO. I don't know when it comes to PMS, this issue of sole off-taker, determining of price. The government did not determine his price when he started with the AGO. The government didn't determine his price. Right. So why is government coming in to determine his price being the sole off-taker? While we, the independent marketers, constitute over 85% of retail outlets in Nigeria. And we're the strategic stakeholders we should have discussed with and fix his price. So that we'll start taking petroleum products from the tank farm.
Okay, let's bring in Kaluaja here. I mean, Mr. Okadike, has said that they have no issues with the Dangote refinery, that they're willing to buy AGO. They've been buying. They are not stopping to buy AGO. And of course, he doesn't know why the Dangote refinery is, crying. Kaluaja, share with us, from your perspective, what do you think is going on here? Is the Dangote refinery or the spokesperson not being honest?
I mean, it's amazing what we're hearing in Nigeria right now. This is a $20 billion investment. And I repeat, $20 billion. The first thing we had was the federal regulator saying it was unlicensed with low quality products. Now we're hearing that the private marketers in Nigeria, the off-takers, are boycotting it because it has a cheaper price. No typo. It has a cheaper price. Hence, they are boycotting it. And they wrote a letter to the president. So what we're seeing is just a breakdown of coordination of the economy. Where are they getting the PMS they want to sell today? They want to import it. But we have a local producer in Nigeria that can meet all demand in Nigeria, perhaps in West Africa, and it's being boycotted. The whole idea of the Dangote refinery, why it was supported with all this, goodies from the government, was that once it comes in, we're able to get supply. That supply, pricing can come later. But Dangote is ready and it can supply Nigeria. We have queues all over the place. And then we have Nigerians saying they prefer to import. I mean, the Dangote, Mr. Edwin was saying he has a letter they wrote to the president that they are willing to, that the price going down is their problem. You can't make sense of it. Economically, you can't make sense of it. The only way it makes sense is if you think that the cartels, the Eichmann, are basically getting cheaper crude oil some way or the other. Either that when they take the crude oil out, there's some deal they have offshore that they can bring it in cheaper than the local producer Dangote. Or there's just something going on with the subsidy regime that maybe is fraudulent, hence they can still make a profit. Because how can they refuse the Dangote product that's refined locally, which is obviously cheaper than what could be imported? It makes no sense. So any Nigerian is just looking at, what is going on? It's amazing. This is a $20 billion investment. How many $20 billion investments do you have in the US or China? How many? By an individual. And we have one here, and look at what we're talking about. We're going back and forth on letters and all that. It's blown away is the word, yeah.
It's actually very concerning because we would think that having Dangote here would have made it a lot easier for the local marketers to choose that over imported products. But is there an NNPC angle to the conversation that we need to look at? NNPC has said that they are pricing, there are still negotiations going on between NNPC and Dangote as to what the pricing is, and they're saying that the pricing will be guided by the PIA. So I'd like you, Kaluaja, to react to the NNPC angle, to this conversation.
Well, the problem is this, right? NNPC, the government has said pay Dangote in Naira. Dangote is going to pay them in Naira. The price of crude oil is in dollars. Dangote is going to pay Naira at the dollar market exchange rate. So there's really no difference. If you bring those products into Nigeria, unless you subsidize it, you cannot get the price lower. It's still going to be at 1,600 or so, which is the exchange rate. So NNPC is trying to then, or how we should make its money is that when it gives Dangote crude oil, those byproducts it can get from Dangote and it can sell and it can then recover some cost from the byproduct that it sells. This is the template being worked out now. We heard Mr. Edwin say they're working out the template with NNPC on how they're going to buy in Naira and then give NNPC back all the byproducts. That should be the model. The crude oil goes in, they refine, the byproducts are able to fund the subsidy, because even if you refine in Nigeria, the price will not come down because the dollar exchange rate in Nigeria, the Naira has weakened. So we cannot buy the crude oil at a lower price. And that's what we have. NNPC is a marketer now. They're no longer a regulator. They're a marketer now, but they own crude oil. And the way it should work in my mind is that the NNPC should take their entire crude oil stock and give to Dangote to refine, and then get back the PMS, the bitumen, and all that kind of stuff. But NNPC has given out that crude oil for loans in advance loan payments. Now NNPC doesn't have the crude to meet Dangote's requirements. That's what's really going on. So this back and forth we're seeing is NNPC not having the crude, but having to do that deal with Dangote to supply product to Nigeria. That's really where we are.
All right, let's go back to Mr. Ukadike. Just confirm for us, all right? Is Ipman fully committed to buying petroleum products from Dangote refinery, or is there the possibility that they are willing to import if the Dangote prices are not favorable?
In the earlier statement of the president of Ipman, Laji Shetima Megandi Abubakar, he expressly stated clearly that we independent marketers are ready to buy from Dangote if Dangote's prices are cheaper. NNPC have already set their price of 895, and there is no way an independent marketer will go to Dangote to buy fuel or petrol at 1,600 or 1,300. We are no longer in business. You stated it clearly here. NNPC is a producer, is a distributor, and also the retailer. So we are in a business where there is a serious monopoly. One person is controlling the three chains of distribution or the three chains of factors of production. So it is becoming we are no longer competing. We are just depending on whatever that comes out from NNPC. So NNPC have set the price of 895 naira. Now, if NNPC have set the price of it, and Dangote is saying 1,000 something, we are businessmen. We are here to make profit. There's no way we can go to Dangote. So, but if federal government has given Dangote 450 barrels of crude oil to be able to refine locally, which is the quota for local refining, it is pertinent that Dangote should refine that product.
All right.
And take the issue of subsidy or difference should not come in.
All right.
Let us make up with other byproducts.
I'll have Mr. Akalu respond to what you said very shortly, but as quickly as you can, Mr. Ukadike. So what is Ipman's expectation currently? Is it that you're expecting NNPC to match up the price of Dangote? You're expecting Dangote to bring down the price to match up what NNPC has pegged their price to be? What is Ipman's expectation?
Our expectation is that Dangote should look at the NNPC template and see how it can work out internally. To be able to confirm with that template so that the competition will set in.
All right.
If the Potaka refinery is coming in and Dangote is also producing, there should be competition. And what is healthy in terms of this BIA bill, in terms of this deregulation, is that there should be sources of petroleum products for independent marketers. Wherever it's cheap, we the independent marketers, we are ready to buy today. With this share of 3% or non-confirmation of this, it's unfounded. I hold a copy of the Dangote's petition to Mr. President, about the cabal and all the rest of them. Dangote has not approached it, man, and say, this is our price. This price is good. We will buy and we will sell to the inadequacy of petroleum products in our filling station is what is causing this price disparity. You go to NNPCL filling station, they are selling 800 and something. You go to independent marketers and Moma filling station, they are selling 1,000 something.
All right,
so
Mr.
that is the
Akadike.
disparity, and that is why you see queue here and there.
Mr. Akadike, I'd like to have Mr. Akalu-Aja quickly respond to what you've said.
Yeah, NNPC's price is subsidized. That's why it's 800 naira. The real price is going to be the Dangote price. But Dangote is saying they need the NNPC to confirm the pricing template because of that subsidy element. So to use NNPC's price is going to be false. The price of crude oil of PMS in Nigeria is dependent on the exchange rate of the dollar and the international price of crude oil. That's where the real problem is. So to hide behind NNPC's 800 is not going to work. NNPC has got to give the template out without the subsidy. So Nigerians know this is the price without the subsidy. Then the federal government can work out how that subsidy will then take place if there's going to be a subsidy. That's really where we are right now.
I do think there will be a subsidy, yeah.
Yeah, I apologize. I just want to ask, does it sound like the NNPC is jeopardizing, or somehow, some way, making business difficult for Dangote?
There's something going on in that the government has said there is no subsidy, but there's a subsidy. Yeah. So there's a bit of a play around. Let's not admit there is. So let's see the template. That's what's really going. That's why they can't come out and give you a statement and say, oh, we're paying a subsidy. But the 800 naira or so with NNPC is subsidized. NNPC now has to come back and say, okay, without the subsidy, what's going to be a landed cost? The cost is the international price of crude and the exchange rate. That's where the real cost of the PMS in Lagos and urban Nigeria is. Those two factors. You have to subsidize one of them. Either you subsidize the exchange rate or you subsidize the international price of crude to get price of fuel in Nigeria down. Without that, it would be 1,000, 1,005. So the 800 is just a mirage. It's subsidized. When the subsidy goes, we'll see the real price. But the subsidy can be paid for by the byproduct that Dangote is going to keep in Nigeria, that when we go abroad, we don't get those byproducts. So every liter of crude oil that goes into the Dangote refinery, they can get all the byproducts in Nigeria. Yeah. If you go abroad, you don't get those byproducts. And that's where I think we're not factoring in.
Okay.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for the conversation. It does look like we don't know if we're going to see an end to this. We don't know if the NNPC is going to be able to lift off from Dangote on the 15th as initially promised, and the negotiations are still ongoing. We hope that we can have some clarity in the coming days, but thank you very much, Akalu-Aja, for joining us, and thank you, Chinedu Kadike, for joining us as well.
Thank you.
All right, as we've come to the end of the show, we've had quite the week. So much drama has happened over the course of the week, but it doesn't have to end here. Breakfast Extra comes your way tomorrow at 8 a.m. All through the weekend, our Breakfast Extra hosts will be bringing you a continuation of some of the biggest stories we've started with, as well as fresh stories that will emerge over the course of the weekend. So remember to stay glued during the weekend. And today, please do not tune away. We have more shows coming your way.
Absolutely. And of course, in a week's time, it's going to be the Edo State elections. So everyone, of course, stay focused on the build up to the elections as we continue those conversations. Thank you very much for joining us all through the week. It's been a very interesting one. I am Osao Ogbon.
And I am Olive MOD. Like I say on Fridays, do not drink and drive. Ensure that you turn up with sense. And we'll see you on Monday.